Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Absolute BSS, the casual-petitive look at Bandai Namco's Battle Spirits Saga card game. We're back from Atlanta, baby. We've got some fun stuff to talk about. Looking forward to the Pro Tour in just a couple of days from the release of this episode. And as you can see, we're joined once again by our buddy Andrew. Andrew, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad. I'm kind
Yeah.
of excited to be home, but had a blast in Atlanta this weekend. Great to meet everyone, and I think that this next weekend is going to be just as fun.
Hell yeah.
So,
Hell
not
yeah.
too
Excited to be
bad.
home and ready to leave once again
Yeah.
in like less than
Exactly.
a week.
Yep. And of course, Eric back with us. Angel once again working. But Eric, how are you doing?
Yeah, Angel almost made it, and then
Mhm.
he texted us this morning and was like, "My guys, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Such a shame." I feel like I haven't heard from him other than like the occasional little whispers every now and
Yeah.
then.
He's been super busy. We miss him. Angel,
Yeah,
if you're listening to this, we miss you. We love you. Um, and we're trying to get our Worlds invites to follow you to Worlds.
yeah, we need to be
Um,
there with him.
yes. And that's a great little segue, Cam. Whoosh, handing it off to myself. We're here to talk about Atlanta, y'all. First of all, yeah, the third, it was the third grand open, correct, of the season? Third and
I
final?
think it was,
Uh, the third wave.
Third wave. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Third wave.
I couldn't
but
tell
this
you
is,
what number it
this,
was,
this was the
but
I
last.
think it
pretty
was
high.
number five. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure because there was Utrecht and
Right.
then Pasadena, Liverpool, and maybe four. I don't know.
Brisbane.
It was
Brisbane.
one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, it was one of them.
It was a grand open. That's for
I did.
sure. And a pro tour is happening this weekend with Worlds in 2024. This was my first big Battle Spirits event. My first grand open. Very, very fun. It was really cool to meet just our team, our guys in the Discord, the Brick Brothers, the BSS friends. Shorty got to stay with us. Shout out to Shorty, an Australian
Yeah.
player. So
I think he's
cool.
never going to visit the United States ever again.
Yeah.
And it's our fault.
We're going to have like a bonus episode where we bring Shorty on and just have him describe his mental state the whole time.
Yeah.
It was
We were up really late making so much noise and
yes.
probably just like I don't know. We took him to
Oh.
Waffle House.
He's like, is
What
it like
better
pancake
introduction
parlor?
to America?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, is this like pancake parlor? And we're like, probably not. And that's a bad Australian accent, but oh man. But it
Yeah.
was really cool. We got to thank you to everybody who came up and mentioned that they've listened to the podcast or watched the podcast. I played a couple of games against some people who have been tuning in, so that was really, really cool. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into just that whole experience, that total weekend, because I haven't really unpacked it myself mentally, because as soon as I got home, I got a COVID booster in one arm and a flu shot in the other, and I'm just now feeling better. So it'll be
man,
nice.
the lethal combo.
Yeah, the old sick day cocktail. So that's been fun. So if I seem a little off, that's where I'm at. But yeah, let's talk about some of the things that we saw in Atlanta. Right, we've got the top 16 deck lists really quickly. I think these were up like Sunday night.
Yeah.
Huge shout outs to PPG for running the event really, really smoothly. The venue was really, really cool. We'll get into that. And yeah, it was a good fucking time in Atlanta. Do either of you remember the exact number of how many people were playing on that Saturday event? Because it was a good amount.
131 or 32, something
Jeez,
like that.
I'm almost positive it was 131.
that
I
sounds
know it was
right.
the second largest grand open that we've had.
Yeah.
It was awesome seeing so many people there playing this game, and a lot of different deck lists. The total archetype breakdown, if you're watching the video companion for this, obviously a lot of Dragonoid mid-range, a lot of Green Gale, a lot of Fabled Beast, but 27 other is really fun to me, because it's like we're gonna start getting some category names for some of these decks most likely once they kind of settle and get a little more support. I think there was a lot going on. But yeah, Eric, do you want to start? You want to like how'd your grand open go this weekend?
So it started a little rocky because you and I were supposed to drive down together.
Yes.
And then I just got really busy with work stuff kind of last minute. And then also I was supposed to get a parking pass for you for my apartment so you could like, I don't know, everything just kind of started falling apart and you were just like, I'm just going to go. And I was like, all right, that sucks because I wanted to drive down with you because it would have been fun.
Yeah.
But I guess we got to do that. And then I ended up showing up at like, I don't know, 9:30 or 10 p.m. or whatever at our Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, it was awesome. Really glad to meet Shorty in person. He's a super cool dude. Had a lot of fun hanging with you and him. And yeah, the event was super cool. I think the venue in some ways was the perfect venue and the worst venue.
Yeah, after a certain time.
there are two things that come to mind, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. One is the lighting situation, and two is the elevator stairs situation that I think if that building would have like been on fire, we all would have died.
We would have died.
So yeah, maybe
man.
due to our own stupidity, but still, it shouldn't be that hard to get out of a building.
It shouldn't be. I mean, granted, yeah, it was 12 hours of playing a card game, and then we don't read cards, so how are we supposed to read like instructions or signs?
We don't read signs. Yeah,
no signage. Yeah, that was goofy. No, the venue was really cool. It was in this atrium at the Omni Hotel in the CNN Center in downtown Atlanta. So that means it was very open, right? We were indoors still, but it was like the whole building had like, you know, you could like see the ceiling from inside, and like all the rooms went up, and there was like this little atrium area like halfway up there, or like a quarter of the way up, you know. And so like all these like inward facing hotel rooms could like look out of their balcony and just see a bunch of nerds playing this card game.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure that anyone who was there not for this was very confused.
Yeah. And it was
literally every time I got in the elevator, somebody was commenting like, "What in the hell was going on down there?"
It was goofy, I'm sure, from the outsider's perspective. But for someone who plays the card game and any other card game, like I was just so grateful it wasn't a hot, sweaty room. It was very open. It was very airy. There were some concessions. The bathroom was right there. Lots of tables to stretch out, and it was really, really cool. Tons of natural light. Tons of natural light
during the
I
day.
think natural light was the only light, but tons of it.
When the sun went down with about 3 rounds left, it got a little romantic. And by that I mean I could not see anything happening on the field and on the cards. And there were these weird little like floodlights that weren't that powerful and not at all strategically placed to just be like,
I feel very
we have light, but we don't have light all at the same time.
I feel
fun.
very prepared for if I was to go on like a celebrity like speed dating show or something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what that prepared me for.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Candlelit, you get an hour to meet this person.
Play
Some
against
of
their
them
Battle
were
Spirits
full.
deck.
Yep.
See what kind of Battle Spirits deck they play. Decide if you want to go on a second date based on that.
Battle Spirits speed dating.
I think all 3 of my last rounds were against red, so it would probably be a no for all 3 of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair. Very, very popular kind of person in the speed dating field, especially moving into the top 16 there. But yeah, that was kind of goofy. But the venue itself, like, it was cool. It was cool until we couldn't see. But it was a really streamlined, very well run event, in my opinion. I don't
know about you guys, but when we couldn't see, a lot of people were trying to figure out like a way to position their phone flashlight.
Yeah.
And I think every single way that somebody tried was just made it worse.
Yeah.
Like,
and then the
it was
phones
like,
would fall in like splash cores, and it's like,
yeah, the
oh
phones would
my
fall,
God.
stuff would go everywhere. Like, if somebody at the table next to us turned their phone like this, and to where the flashlight was like right in our fucking eyes, and we were like, hey, no. No.
No,
And then they were like, we can't see. And it's like, yeah, well, we're gonna go blind if you keep that pointed at us. Like, we cannot deal with this.
I was playing against a Gale list when the lights went out, and Prison Boots hits the field, and I'm like, that is a blank card. There's nothing on that card.
Yeah,
nothing. I was like, good thing I know what this guy does, because I could not see it.
Thank God you weren't playing a purple player. You'd have to read their Maduke.
Oh, in the dark. How bad would that? That happened to someone. Someone was sitting there. Maduke in the dark. Oh boy. Yeah.
They're like, I lost that game because I couldn't read the Maduke.
Yeah. It's like, I had no idea what Blood Curse was. I couldn't physically
Does it go to the void? Does it go to the trash? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm about to just dump myself.
My opponent who was playing her didn't know either.
Yeah.
Didn't even see it refresh, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. I swear they were tapped. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, like, if you were there, I'm sure there's got to be someone with some video footage of all that, and that was pretty goofy. But other than that, Saturday, 8 rounds of Swiss, cut to a top 16 on Sunday that ended up finishing it out. There were some side events on Sunday, so that was pretty cool. And there were some vendors, so I got to pick up all the cards that I don't have yet, and that includes a playset of Macaroni Pentan, which is pretty saucy.
Yeah,
it's pretty
good.
Cheesy. Yeah. Well, so obviously what we're doing here is kind of dancing around like how exactly it went for all of us, like what we played exactly, because it's a weird position where the Pro Tour in Portland is so soon. But do either of you want to give your thoughts on what the field looked like, right? Like, what were you surprised to run into? How do you feel you performed at this Grand Open?
Yeah, I can start if you want me to, Eric.
Yeah, go first.
Sure. So, pretty much throughout the day, I think it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I knew there was going to be a good representation of red, just from how it's performed in Grand Open so far this year, right?
Yep.
I knew there was going to be a couple people who were playing Gale, just because if it does high roll, it's crazy. So just taking that risk, especially into a weekend where Atlanta, they announced it like right off the bat, like top 80 were getting Pro Tour invites. And I think a lot of people kind of viewed Atlanta as an opportunity to, hey, take what you want, play it, have fun. You're going to get a Pro Tour invite if that's what you're going for. And then the people who wanted to play up more towards the top kind of took more of the competitive decks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew Gale would be heavily represented. I played 4 red decks, 2 Gale decks, and then I played 1 white deck, which was kind of confusing. There was a lot of white there, different variations of it all over the board, so that was really cool to see. Especially white aggro getting its time to shine up there in the top cut.
Yeah.
And then I knew there was going to be some people playing some crazy stuff, and that happened to me round 2 when I got paired up against Kaz. And shout out to him, because that ramp deck is actually pretty spicy. It does a lot of cool things, and game 1 I was a little bit lost, I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah.
just kind of seeing where he was going with it, and it's pretty much win summon dot deck. And he played, I think, like 20 win summons, curse comboed me like 3 times, just in game 1, and then we went to game 2. So
Yeah.
it was pretty fun to play against. I think a cool experience and something that's really viable. And I've been thinking about it a lot more here recently. Like, that's a really strong deck to take into a day 1, because nobody knows what you're playing. So they don't know how to play around it. They're not teching for that deck, right? Like, your answer is what? Just, I'm going to play Star Blast because you're playing a lot of win summons, and that's pretty much it. Like, they don't know what you're trying to do in your top end game 1, and then you crack them with Baculus Curse Dragon. You drop
Right.
Elephant. or you go 18 wide because you have 300 cores by turn 6 because
Yeah.
Manticore is just crazy turn 1, right? But no, that was probably my favorite deck I played against this weekend. There was a couple little spicy plays that people put into some red list. Shout out to the guy who's playing Strong Draw in his main board in red. That was really kind of unexpected and caught me off guard. But definitely the ramp deck was probably my favorite thing I saw this weekend.
Yeah, and Cosmic just recently put up, his video recapping the Atlanta weekend and the top 16. So obviously he was in there with that 5-color Smag deck, and so you gotta check out that video and check out that list if you haven't already, because it is cool. But you're right. Like, what do you do about that? Like, how do you counter that kind of deck? And it did look fun to play. He said he enjoyed it, and that's really, really cool that it did so well.
The craziest thing about that deck that I didn't even realize until I can't remember if it was Cosmic himself who pointed it out in the video, or if it was maybe on the Church of Pentan podcast. I listened to like all that stuff today because I'm trying to consume like as much as I can to prep for the Pro Tour. The fact that Smag can become unblockable with Derm Dyna because it counts as a white card because it counts as having a white symbol is insane to me. And so that really opened up my eyes, because I've built a couple like rainbow decks, and I've usually gone the route of like, oh, I'm going to play K and like get stuff back and just like throw a bunch of cool one-ofs in the deck. He built his where it's more like just synergistic combo pieces and then Derm Dyna to finish out the game if you need it, and you can make your Smags unblockable, and it's just, man, what a cool deck. I guess he didn't actually make the deck, if I remember correctly from him mentioning that.
No, I think it was Andy.
Okay.
Yeah. He made the deck, but then was like, I need somebody to pilot this, and Cosmic, I guess, was having trouble figuring out what to play, and he's like, fuck it, I'll just play. It's like,
that's amazing, because
crazy
he played it
deck.
so well.
Yeah.
Something to point out in that video, when he's talking about the Derm Dyna plays, he said he found that out in round 2. That was against me. So
that was against you.
Yep.
You got Derm Smagged.
I finally got my playlist or playset of.
You're welcome, Cause, for helping you figure out how to play the deck.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh man.
But yeah.
So I had a lot of fun. So here's the thing. My record was 4-4, but my tiebreakers ended up being so good because like the people I lost to were Daniel Schmidt, who was in top 8, Daniel Zeidenberg, who won, I believe, the Pro Tour in Utrecht. The Grand Open in Utrecht. My bad. And he ended up in the top 16.
Both were playing Red Dragon on mid range.
Yeah, both were playing red. And honestly, I did decently well against both of them. It was just, every time I play, especially Daniel Schmidt, because I played against him in Utrecht as well.
Yeah.
And it was so funny when we got paired together. I was like, all right, rematch. This is my chance. And no, he still kicked my ass. He's just such a good player.
Yeah.
It's like, we trained and prepped for that matchup so much, and I felt really prepared for it. And even in testing, I beat red pretty easily. It was just that somebody's a good player and they're just better than me at the game. It's like, I'm already on my back foot a little bit, and it's like, I don't let that tilt me, but I do want to acknowledge that it's like, yeah, they're just really good players. But they helped my tiebreakers a lot, because another person I lost to was Ryan Matas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So it was just like, I didn't feel bad taking those losses at all, because I was like, these are like all-star players that you see their names pop up over and over again I think Daniel Schmidt, this might have been his first top table. Sorry if I'm wrong about that, but it's, you see these names all over all the time. And it's like, you can't feel bad taking that L, because it's like, okay, they're going to help your tiebreakers. And also, like, it was kind of cool to play against them.
Yeah.
To say that you did that. Although it would have been cooler to be like, I beat Ryan Matas, but I did not. But honestly, I had a ton of fun. round 8, I lost to a like purple aggro deck, and I think that that's going to be my pick for like the spiciest thing about this event was that aggro decks were out to play. Like people brought some aggro decks that like the Coalmane aggro and there's various purple aggros and white aggros, and I don't know if there was a green aggro, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was.
Yeah.
So
And it's just like,
super funny story
yeah,
about that.
sure.
So your round 8 opponent,
Uh-huh.
her partner actually just joined my locals Discord.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
And she's going to be coming to our locals next week. So she was like talking about it. She's like, yeah, like my partner's going to the pro tour and like
Wow.
did pretty well at Atlanta, and you like just finished ahead of her. I was like, oh, cool. So like I went back and looked at like the standings and everything, and then I looked at pairings. I was like, oh, well, she played against our friend Eric in round
Yeah.
8, and
Yep.
she was like, oh, well, that's so cool. So I'm literally
That's so
like picking
funny.
up a deck for her to play at locals on Tuesday of next week from her partner, like out in Portland. So
Oh,
it's going to be
cool.
a cross country trip so she can beat me at locals on Tuesday with whatever sauce differed up.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Honestly, she was awesome. That's another thing too. When you lose to somebody, or even if you beat somebody, just playing against somebody who's like chill and fun to play against is
Yeah.
always appreciated. And she had a mat, like her mat was The Room, the movie The Room
Oh.
with Tommy Wiseau, and she put her deck over Mark's face, and she lifted up her deck, and I went, "Oh, hi, Mark." And it was just like, we got to share this fun little moment together before she totally mopped the floor with me with her purple aggro and worker Ant-Man deck. Honestly, I need to prep a little bit more into the aggro matchup just to make sure I know what I'm doing, because I think that's the thing about aggro is if somebody's playing aggro and you don't know that they're on aggro, by the time you realize they're on aggro, it's like way too late.
Yes.
Because they're being aggressive and just kicking you in the face. So
Yeah.
um
My matchups over the course of the day were a lot different than the rest of us. Brennan would come over like almost every round, I feel like, and be like, "Man, I just got rolled by Curse Aggro." I'm like, well, keep that shit away from me, man. I played the Yellow Mirror 4 times though. I played
man.
into yellow, playing yellow 4 out of my 8 rounds, and I was like, I felt as prepared for that matchup as I possibly could be. I guess I only played into it 3 times. I'm sorry, I lied. And I beat it 2 out of 3 times. But the first time I encountered the Yellow Mirror, I got rolled. I got absolutely smoked. And so you learn a lot from that, right? You're like, what is in their deck that's not in my deck? Should I switch that? Was it low roll? Like, what happened here? So that was like kind of a weird one to shake. That was my 4th round. And so at that point I was 1-3 on the day. And so I was like, if I can find a way to break even, I'm going to feel pretty good, because my round 2 loss was to the winner of Atlanta, Thomas Calder, with Cursed Serpents.
Wow, you played against him?
I played against Thomas round 2.
That's awesome.
Yes. And it was a crazy set because I lost the first match, or the first game really, really close. Second game I came back after siding and like felt pretty good about it. And then the third game at the very end was the first time I saw Maduke. So I wasn't like sure exactly what the deck was. And by then I was like, okay, if I just lean full aggro into my hippos and bless, like maybe I can just close this game out. Each game took 15 minutes each. And it was just a really, really fun time. And then, my first L of the day, he ends up taking the whole damn thing over the weekend. So that was cool. Round 3,
Yeah.
I lost in 5 minutes. I lost both games total in 5 minutes to Way from Brisbane, the Brisbane winner. And
Well,
the red aggro was just so intense there.
yeah.
He's just a great player, right? And so
Was he playing the Coalmane deck?
I don't know, because I only saw like 4 different cards. It was like turn 1, I put down a yellow Nexus, and then it was gone. and then there was the Nebula Dragon, or no, Andromeda, just wiping everything and then running into me. We sided, and I bricked on my draw, and he did the same thing again. He's like, well, we can go get lunch now. And I was like, hell yeah, man. So that was really cool, because, yeah, those aggro decks, man, Eric, you're totally right. Like, by the time you realize what's happening, it's already over, and doubly so there. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was done in 5 minutes.
We were testing last night against Brennan was piloting the Colemane aggro from the top 16, and I was testing into it. And that deck is just like, even when you know you're playing against it, it goes so wide so fast.
Yes.
So
I was like, this is what it must be like to play against me. Because I like to just throw one core on 80 things and just pray that I have that they don't have
Curse Dragon,
or Thorn
Exhaust
Prison,
Nexus,
Exhaust Nexus, yeah. And that was pretty funny. I only played Gale once, and it was Gale with purple. Shout out to Wes. Wes mentioned that they've listened and watched the show before. Coolest dude. It was such a fun match. That's when like the lights went down. That game went to time. And I lost.
Oh, I watched that one from a distance.
Yeah. It was just a really cool. I wish that was my round 8 though, because like when everything's done, like I would have loved to play that out with him. Just because like it was such a fun matchup. I was playing yellow. I won't go into specific details. But I was playing yellow and they were playing Gale with some purple packet, and it was just a really fun matchup. Like board wiping on my side, big board wiping on his side, like had to dream bomb into certain things, Godslay into certain things. It was just a fun time. And that's just what really did it for me, was like I wasn't trying to win at that point. I already took 3 losses in the beginning of the day. But it was just really cool to just play. And the Gale list is so fun to see high roll, really, honestly, because like I get it. But the deck that I was running, I feel like I played really, really well. I ended up 4-4 on the day at my first Grand Open, coming from behind. I was 1-3, and then I got my other 3 wins there and took 1 more loss in that Gale overtime. But 4-4, I felt pretty good about it. I'm not going to Portland. I'm not going to be able to. But I did place 80th, which I think is really funny.
Yeah, you're the exact cutoff.
They're like, it's going to be handed down to 80. I landed right at 80, probably because I lost to Thomas round 2. And I over in Cosmic's Discord, someone was like, congrats to whoever Cameron Weaver is on 80. And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy what tiebreakers can do, because we had the same record and I was 53rd.
Yeah.
After tiebreakers.
Yep. It is funny. Andrew, how'd you end up?
The letdown. I had the letdown of tiebreakers this weekend.
Yeah.
This is like no offense to anybody if they're listening, right? But like I'm pretty sure my round 1 opponent finished like 105th. So that doesn't feel too good.
Sure.
I had a couple other opponents who finished like mid 50s, low 60s. So yeah, my tiebreakers weren't that great. I did finish 5-3.
Nice.
So I did finish 35th, but if I had good breakers, I would have finished in like the top 20. So
yeah,
there's kind of one of those type of things. But all in all, I mean, I think every matchup felt really good. I felt like the deck I was playing just drew insanely well, and it was just one of those days where like I didn't feel like I was making any wrong decisions. I couldn't really tell you a time where I feel like I just completely threw the game or misplayed.
Yeah.
Except the last game, or the one game I lost to Red. I did kind of misplay in game 2 of that game, which allowed him to end up obviously getting that one, and then he beat me 2-0. But I had the game in hand, and I just completely blew it. Other than that, I think a lot of the matchups that I played were exactly how I thought they were going to be. Really similar list to what I thought I was going to be playing against, which was really beneficial, especially looking at it from a testing aspect, because that's everything I tested into and prepared for the whole time. So a lot of my tech cards, a lot of the things that I put in main board versus sideboard, and a lot of things I just cut just ended up working perfectly. Some things kind of caught me off guard, especially with Cosmic's deck. But other than that, I was really just prepared for everything that I went into today. I never got above like table 20. Like it was just one of those things where like I knew like my breakers were going to be something that held me back all day because I would like play at table 25 and then I'd win and then I'd go to table 24 and be like,
Right.
oh, well, this
Oh
sucks. Like,
man.
Yeah.
I know what's going on here. So, but a big shout out to like everybody, like just kind of getting to meet everyone. Zach Bell, you know I love you. This special shout out. Him, Ryan, like all the TD guys. I got to ride down with Caleb Albert. So shout out to Caleb. He's been
That's cool.
helping me kind of brew up some stuff here for the Pro Tour. So we'll see what comes out of that too. But yeah, just a super good group of guys that we were able to meet and hang out with just outside of our team that honestly made the experience a lot better too. Um, and especially like going into like Sunday and seeing some of them playing Top Cut, and then
Yeah.
obviously the rest of the people like coming to the venue, like just coming to say what's up and everything, and giving you kind of like a positive like vibe going into Portland. Like, oh man, like it's nice to know like if I do go to this event or like when I do go to this event, like I'm gonna have people to talk to and hang out with through the event there too. It's not gonna be just me and my team, and hopefully they all make it, so I'm not by myself. So a little bit more of like anxiety relief going into that event. The
That's great.
lighting was something. So
Yeah.
really, I mean, like the really cool fact of it, right, is our hotel room was in the hotel. So we were up on the 11th floor. So it was great, like actually like getting done with the tournament and just being able to hop on the elevator and go up to my room. I love that. But yeah, the lighting sucked. So PBG did like an insanely good job running the event. The communication was great. I don't know if
Yes.
you guys thought that too, but like before the
Yeah.
rounds, like telling us what to expect for tomorrow, what
Yeah.
to expect for today, and just constantly keeping us updated. And that cheer when they said there was going to be free food on Sunday was
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
so heartwarming, dude. I was so
Yeah.
happy.
It was great. They
But
really
no,
did. They knocked it out of the
George did
park.
an insanely good job. Their vending booth was really nice. They had a really good selection of like staple cards that everyone could need. So
Yeah.
really beneficial for the people who like needed that one or two more cards to finish their deck. And then the other vendor there too, I can't remember what it was called. I know it was like a buy, sell, and trade thing. So he was taking things from any card game and had some really good deals on stuff. Shout out to him because I was able to pick up some stuff and take it back to my locals and actually hook some people up in my locals just because like we either ran out of the product or I was able to kind of help them save like a few dollars here and there too, just being able to get some stuff that'll be staples for their decks that they need, and it kind of helps the player base, right?
For sure.
Just being able to afford the things that they wouldn't be able to afford and get a little bit more creative with their deck building. So not only is it going to help them with that, but it helps me because they build better decks for us to practice against. So maybe it was kind of like a sneaky thing that I had planned, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
huge shout out to PPG because yeah, their little booth where they were selling cards, the prices were really good.
Yes.
Like I think you and I both, Andrew, bought Judge Dream Bombs.
That's super cool.
Yeah, they were like oh
Dream
you,
Bomb's a bad card. We're not playing it actually. We just bought
Yeah.
it
oh
because it looked
okay.
cool.
No one should play Dream Palm.
No,
If
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
if,
Everybody's playing Dream Bomb.
yeah, like do we need to cut this? Do we not want people to know that we're on Dream Bomb? The card that
Everyone's playing Dream Bomb
Yeah.
except for Matt.
everyone except for the dude who got second place with white control.
Yeah, without a
That's
Dream
Matt.
Bomb, that was
Without Dream Bomb.
nuts. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, Matt.
Just an elk and no dream.
Yeah.
So, but they were super cool. The side events were awesome. I played in 2 of them, and they just kept them going and going and going. And the prizing they handed
Yeah.
out was just they just handed out crazy amounts of like event packs just for
Yeah.
playing. And at the end of the day, they also gave away a bunch of free stuff. The dude who was running the other booth, again, I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name of their company. I have his little cards somewhere, but
Yeah.
he gave me a free yellow starter deck, which I don't really need, but I was like,
Oh wow.
I'll take this. I'll give this to somebody to get them into the game, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like yellow could be a fun color. Like, if somebody is interested, I can just be like, here's a deck.
Yeah.
Like, try it out. And they also, the dudes at PPG, I think this might have been because I mentioned to them Oh, actually, I don't want to say that yet.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but
No, I know
they
where you're
gave
going.
me, yeah, but they gave me, like, they just gave me a giant tablecloth, like a Battle Spirit Saga tablecloth that goes like on the table for people to play.
Yeah.
The dude just came up to me really quietly and he was like, "Here you go." And I
It's
was like,
cool as hell.
"Why?" And he was like, "It's for you." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take it." The thing is fucking massive. I spread it out and I put it on my couch just to look at it. It takes up my whole couch.
Yeah.
Like I could use it as a
Awesome.
blanket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Angel was saying I should hang it on the wall, but I was like, I don't know that that's how I want my guests to be greeted, is by
Yeah.
Maduke and her obliterated body, according to her flavor text,
Yeah.
that has been restored.
It
I
did
think
begin to regenerate though.
it's
Yes.
it regenerated. It regenerated. Yeah, began to. Two things. I'm sorry, I'm taking up a bunch of time in my little.
Oh, you're
slot
not at
here,
all.
But
You're good.
two things, because you mentioned misplays, Andrew. I had two things that happened that were not really misplays. One of them was, but it kind of turned out okay.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
playing against Austin Pizarro, who was my round one was Daniel Ziedenberg from who was the winner of the Utrecht Grand Open.
Yeah,
My
top
round
16.
two was Austin Pizarro, who was the second place Pasadena Grand Open, and he was playing purple, and I set a Star Blessed draw. And he played his Black Lance and then was doing other stuff. And then I realized I didn't activate my Star Blessed draw, but it was like way too late. He was in the attack step already.
Yeah.
Like I didn't say anything. And so I was like, I'm playing in a competitive event. I'll just play it cool and let it go. And then because I didn't activate it, he thought it was an Ice Shield
Yeah.
or a Dream Bomb or something. And I think it affected the way that he attacked and played because I didn't activate the Star Blessed draw. And then like a turn or two later, he played Beldegor and I flipped it and paid 4 and drew 4 cards. And he went, "What?" And I was, and like, I guess like it was a misplay, but it turned into like some kind of weird big brain play where
Oh,
like
man.
I waited till I could pay for it.
It's like playing poker with Jordan, our buddy Jordy. It's like you never really fucking know what's in that pocket,
Yeah.
no matter how he
But-
bets.
Even when I flipped it over, I said to him, I was like, "This is really weird and I'm sorry, but it's this." He was just like, "Okay."
It's so funny.
Another one I wanted to mention, not a misplay, but I was playing against Gale. He had me on the ropes. I drew a Star Blessed draw and I immediately jammed it into my burst and acted like it was an Ice Shield. And then it went back over to his turn and he held back because he thought it was an Ice Shield. And if he would have swung all in, I would like clap back next turn and finish the game. So he held back and he literally said, "The balls you would have to bluff an ice shield here is incredible." Like it would be like he was like, "The balls you would have to bluff an Ice Shield here," and I was just like, "Yeah." And then it was my turn, and I managed to. I think I managed to win the next turn because he did hold back. I managed to play like a bunch of spirits and get in, and then I flipped the Star Blessed draw, and I think he was like, "Ah." Like he wasn't even impressed. I think he was just kind of upset.
Yeah. Oh man.
Because I saw it off the top of the deck and I knew I needed to bluff it. So I
Yeah.
just jammed it in. Like I saw it and I just jammed it because
That's
I was just
incredible.
like, he needs to think this is an Ice Shield. And he
it
did.
worked.
Yeah.
That is the definition of make him have it, and he did not
Yeah.
make you have it.
Yeah.
But that's
to
a
his
learning
credit
experience.
though, I mean, like, what else are you supposed to think it is?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. No, for sure. That's just so funny, man.
That's like my move now, I think. I think that's
Yeah.
like my special move. I'm just gonna like anytime I draw a burst off the top, I'm not even gonna look at what it is. I'm just gonna jam it.
You do have a good poker face, Eric, I will say.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of games of Battle Spirits with you, and I still never know what the fuck you're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah, the scariest thing for you always say, is whenever I just draw my card, get my core, and then just pass.
Yeah, that shit pisses me off. It's like, what are you gonna do with all of those cores? Oh man.
Oh, but yeah, those were like two moments on the day that were just like kind of funny, but also really cool.
Yeah.
So, and once again, it was really neat to play against like so many players whose names I've seen over and over again on the top tables. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
Well, and on that note too, of just, fun stuff showing up, right? A lot of different lists, a lot of different tech for the lists that do kind of look together. Eric thought it'd be a cool idea if we brought one card or deck or strategy that we saw that surprised us. I know we've touched on this a little bit, like with the 5-color Smag list. But while you guys are thinking about it, I have one off the top of my head. We've talked a little bit about it, but white aggro came back and was around. And I am not a white player. Anytime I have played white, obviously it's control and it's elk. And I was looking at a lot of white cards this weekend. In the side event, I threw some white pile together just because I want to branch out a little bit. I played yellow all day on Saturday. But there's a card from set 1 that I didn't even know about. I totally overlooked it, and it's run in this white aggro list. It's Heavy Tank Curiosity. So it's a 3-cost, 2 reduction white mecha spirit. Level 1 for 1 core, it has 2,000 power. Level 2 for 2 cores, it has 4,000. Nothing crazy. I like the reduction and everything, but at level 2, during either attack step, when your mecha spirits would be destroyed by your opponent's destruction effects, they remain on the field exhausted instead. That's pretty cool. And in a white aggro list where you're flanking it with, Satellite Falcons, who's 2-cost, 2 reduction, an automatic gunner, 1-cost, 1 reduction, you can go wide, and then if your opponent's answer to aggro is destruction, that gets turned off, at least during either attack step. And that just kind of like blew me away. And it made me realize, like, damn, there's a lot about this game that I am overlooking. There are a lot of cards that, and I'm the one who says it on the podcast all the time, like, go back, read the cards from old sets. And that was like one of those moments for me. So I ended up losing the first game in that round against white aggro, was able to adjust and get the other 2 wins. But Heavy Tank Curiosity really stuck out to me, and I love mecha anyway. And so it was just a cool card to see used effectively, and then for me to turn around and use effectively the next day. In a game that Eric and I played, it ended up like really being pretty useful on the field.
The funny story about you discovering that card is that we discovered it when we drafted a box of set 1, or we played a sealed with a box of set 1 against each other. And I built a red deck and a purple deck that was all about like destruction. And then you played like this white mecha deck where they were all protected. And I was like, we both were just staring each other down with like 10 spirits for the longest time. And then after that, we deliriously built side event decks at like 1 a.m. And I think, you were playing that white mecha deck after that. And I was playing like 2-cost macaroni pentan, Camellia whip, just craziness with freeze stall. And that deck did not do very well, but man, was it fun.
It
macaroni
looked fun,
pentan
man.
is fun.
That's a deck that I will keep iterating on too, because that's my shit. Macaroni pentan is one of my favorite cards in this game.
Yeah,
I love them. But yeah,
I think Andrew and I actually already answered for this section. I might have just accidentally passed you, because I think.
Well, I had one more card I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Heaven Piercing Castle.
All right, that's a starter
white
card, right?
I actually don't know. I'm not the white player, so that's a terrible question to ask.
I just organized all of my cards, so I think it is. Let me find it. Boom! It is Heaven Piercing Castle.
Yeah, and shout out to Dango, dude. That list that he created and that people brought, man, it's a white deck that beats yellow, exactly how he described it. Having Piercing Castle is just a really good draw utility card for white, especially with kind of how the meta is right now. Because there's pretty much every deck that's trying to draw cards outside of their draw step, right?
Yep.
Gale's teching in Dragon Naga, and they're running Star Blessed and Strong Draw. Yellow's running everything to draw cards with Phantasmal, Blessed Cathedral, just everything.
Mm-hmm.
Red, obviously Star Blessed draw. They just have so many different ways to draw, right? So how does white counteract that and keep up with it? You just run the Heaven Piercing Castle. You pay the Soul Core, but you're still keeping momentum with your draws as well. And in a deck where it's really like you need to see your win con, like that is the perfect card to put in there. And I think it really performed for him well this weekend. And just from talking to a couple of them, like it's just something that nobody really expects to play around. And you would much rather them use Nexus Destruction on popping that versus like an Infinity Mothership or a Namen city, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was a really good card. I think it was a card that performed really highly this weekend. And I think it's going to be a card that you're going to see splashed into whitelist from here on out until the end of this meta.
I'm glad you brought it up because, I'm working on some whitelists, and that's my biggest thing. Like, especially as a yellow player who plays Fabled Beasts a lot, Phantasmal Paradise, you know, just draws like crazy on its own. But then when you get a second or a third one and you're drawing 3 cards for a bunny, like, I love drawing cards in any card game. That's typically what you want to be doing, right? So white, I always feel, is just so slow, which leans into its control archetype. But yeah, Heaven Piercing Castle, just putting it down, you get the reduction at level 1 and 2. That's when that ability is. During your opponent's turn, when your opponent draws outside of their draw step, which happens a lot in this game, you pay that 1 soul core, you get that 1 card, and that can go such a long way. Especially in white. Like, if you're playing a lot of white and during your opponent's turn too, like, that could be the dream bomb that you need to get out of that next turn. That could be the ice shield to give you one more go. It can be your stall so that your elk drains your opponent. It can be that last little creature that you need for your wide aggro the next turn. So yeah, shout out to Heaven Piercing Castle putting in some work. And I realize I've got some pretty Heaven Piercing Castle cards in my collection, like that, like slate all white with like the little diamond ice shines on them. Like, yeah, I might have to start running this card too.
Nice. From Gen Con?
Yeah.
Those ones? Nice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool.
That's a good one. Yeah, go for it.
Well, I had to pick one card that I thought was just like interesting during the weekend. I'm actually going to pick a card from the side events. I know it's not as exciting as the Grand Open itself, but I just saw some cool stuff in the side events that people were doing.
Mm-hmm.
People were so in one of my side events, I bought a blue starter deck and a box of set 3 and just built a deck.
That's
just
so
built
fun.
a blue deck. And that was a lot of fun. And I think other people were having a lot of fun in the side events where they were playing decks that they normally wouldn't play, or maybe just like pet decks or decks they wanted to try. And I saw a couple people play Loki, the machine god, where when he does damage to your opponent, you can refresh him by bouncing another spirit or a nexus to your hand, I believe. And playing that with the Diamond Sanctuary because it's so cheap. And so you play the Diamond Sanctuaries, you get them down. They're just cost reduction, basically. It's kind of, I think people are starting to view the Sanctuaries more as like we love making comparisons to other card games. So I'm going to make a comparison to Netrunner here. There's a card called Sure Gamble and a card for the runner and a card called Hedge Fund for the corporation that both do the same thing. They cost 5 credits and then get you 9 credits. So the idea is it's like you spend a little money to make a little money.
Yeah.
And I think that that's how we need to view these sanctuaries is like, it's almost like banking your cores a little bit. Like you spend 2 cores this turn, but next turn you get 1 reduction, or you spend 1 core this turn, but next turn you have another reduction. And so I think that if you look at it more as like building this engine, you can view it a little differently. And then it gets the added benefit with Loki of they're so cheap to put down and you just bounce them with him to like get a bunch of attacks. And so pretty sweet combo. I think there's a lot of unexplored space with these, like just thinking about that Colemane aggro deck that can just play, like when I played against it while Brennan was piloting it in testing, I noticed that most of the spirits have like full reduction. So there'll be like 3 cost 3 reduction, 2 cost 2 reduction. And how wide you can get when you do stuff like that is just insane. And I think if you combine that with these like sanctuaries that you can get down early, I think you could probably figure out how to do some crazy plays. There's a vanilla red card that people have been hating on, but I actually think is secretly pretty good, especially if you can figure it out. I think it's called Tornadra, if you want to pull that one up.
Yeah. I know exactly
and I think it's
what
like,
you're talking about.
It's like 5 or 6 cost, but I think it has like 5 or 6.
5 reduction Star Dragon Spirit vanilla.
Yeah. I think that we may get to a point in the game where people look back on how much they were hating on that card and realize that it's actually really good. Kind of how I think Wonderland Card Griffin has become like a
That
really great yellow card
that
just
card
because
performed
he
so well for me this weekend.
yeah, it's a neat card, and I've seen people play it in their yellow builds. Like I've seen people play it in Lustered even, just because it's
Yeah.
like it's good for them to like if you have a bunch of stuff down to just play it basically for free.
Yep.
And I feel like Tornadra is kind of a similar Tornadra and Bearded Eagle and like all those kind of cards where you get like massive reduction. I think you could do some really cool stuff.
They just catch him
So
off guard. To your point about the Sanctuary too, my white deck in the side event, I was running 3 copies of Diamond Sanctuary, and I was never bummed to see those come down. Just because, I mean, for exactly that, like if you already have a white card in play, it costs 1 to throw down Diamond Sanctuary, and then you have a constant reduction. So there was a point
yeah,
on my turn where all I had was Diamond Sanctuary, and now I'm in City, but that's 4 reduction for Machine Beast.
yeah,
So like that does a lot. It goes a long way. And also, yeah, for Derm Dyna, being able to
yeah.
spot a couple of really cheap Nexuses and mark a couple of your white creatures as unblockable, it's really, really good. I think revisiting those sanctuaries is a good idea. Emerald Sanctuary, definitely. I saw a lot of that for a good reason. I feel like we all kind of decided that was the better sanctuary anyway.
That one's the best one, I think, just because the Guardian is really
Yeah,
good.
and
Yeah.
it showed up and it showed out, and yeah, check out those sanctuaries. Check out Tornado for sure, because I loved that card immediately because I'm like, oh, vanilla.
Oh,
Oh,
it's very
5
much
reduction.
it's very much a cam card.
Yeah.
um, Emerald Sanctuary. Don't forget, folks, when somebody has that down with a core on it and they block with All Rain can go from 5 to 7 in that block. So don't forget. Don't get screwed over
Yeah,
by
you're
that.
tapping down and she powers up. It's rough.
Yeah.
Alrune is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Alrune is super good.
Insanely good. Yeah.
So last kind of thing here, before I guess we should have teased that we were going to tease something at the beginning to get people excited, but I'm going to tease it now. We have an announcement of something fun that Absolute BSS is partnering with Andrew and crew on. But before we get into that, I see what I did there. Now you want to know. Ha 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 ha
Wow.
ha.
Well done.
Before we get into that, what are our thoughts going into the Pro Tour? What do we think the meta is going to look like? Do we think everyone's just going to be like, oh, purple best deck going to play purple? Or do we think that people had spicy tech that they didn't show off in Atlanta that we're going to see for the first time? Like, what are we thinking? Andrew, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go first. It's exactly what you just said. There's going to be a lot of people who did not take anything remotely close to what they're playing at the Pro Tour to Atlanta this weekend, and I think that's probably the smartest decision they could have made.
Mm,
Obviously, you don't want to leak what you're doing and then go into Atlanta, or maybe it's a smart decision because everybody thinks you're going to play that and or everybody thinks you're gonna play something different than that, and then you just play it again, and it's like, oh, well, you weren't prepared for this twice, were you? And then, so the meta's wide open. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, we've had 4 different colors that have won events during this Grand Open period, and we're going into a Grand Open to where I'm hoping there's going to be a little bit more representation of players. I'm thinking probably around 80 is what I've been hearing, word on the street, I guess, of how many players we're going to get. So I do believe that it's going to be 80 very skilled players, and I think it's all going to be different colors all over the place.
yeah, which
With
is
this
so
short
cool.
of,
So cool.
oh yeah, the big reason why, right, going into this pro tour, just a week out from Atlanta, is people are taking comfort picks.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take a deck that they understand how to pilot. They're going to take a deck that they know that performs well. And there's going to be players who probably revert back to a color that may have done well this last weekend because they're comfortable with it, right? So you
Yeah,
might see a couple purple players crawling out of our cave like looking at sunlight for the first time in 2 months, being like, "Oh, this deck's good again. Well, yeah, we'll take that to Pro Tour." You might see people go back to white control since a lot of people thought just white control wasn't very playable, but it's honestly coming along to be one of the best decks in the format.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see a lot of different things represented, a lot of cool lists, and I think there's going to be a lot of like meta targeted decks. So
Yeah.
you're going to see some white build, like this weekend example, white builds that target yellow. You're going to see basically red decks that target how to beat white, like their side deck in three derms. You know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of different things that are targeting different decks, and it'll be really cool to see how the meta shakes out. So I
Yeah.
guess to better answer the question, what am I expecting at the Pro Tour? Everything. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it'll just be a little bit of everything, and it's going to be just a really fun event to where I think it brings a big skill part of the game into it, right? Because you'll get to see who the better players are and who are more confident with their deck and who can adjust on the fly to what they're playing against. Because I don't think it's going to be a super heavy, like color dominated event, kind of
Yeah.
like Atlanta. Like Atlanta separated, like I think it was pretty much around 25 across the board for the big three,
Yeah.
and then there was really good representation of everything else except blue. So
Right.
we'll see. We'll probably see five of the six colors heavily represented, and I think it's going to be a pretty even split. So it's great for testing because you have to literally test into everything. It's not just, hey, let's build something that counters this deck that's won four events this season.
Exactly.
You actually have to like go in, play test, and be like, oh man, do I make space for this tech card or do I just run this? And we're getting the creative juices flowing for deck building.
Yeah. I think the key to Portland is gonna be that sideboard. Like those 10 card slots, like what people are putting in there is more important right now than ever. Because the meta is so wide. And that's really gonna make or break some lists, I think. And it's that skill check, you know? The better players are gonna know exactly what to put in those 10 card slots and when to move them over and what to see and what to expect. So it does definitely bode well for the game itself that so many of these colors are here to compete and here to play and here to stay. Yeah, big ditto to what Andrew said. What do you think, Eric?
I feel the exact same. The only thing that I think might happen is if I'm a red player right now, I think I'm a little worried about
I think so too.
white. I I played red for a little bit, and man, when that Enterprise hits the field, like, what do you do? Like,
Enterprise Enterprise is good right
you
now.
can figure out ways around it, but you have to do so many like workaround kind of things to get around it that it just really throws off your game plan. And so I don't know. I think I'm not. We will see red. People have
Oh,
been
for sure.
playing the hell out of red, and they're going to keep playing the hell out of red. Like the true duelist guys, like they pretty much just only play red. I think. Like I've only ever seen them play red, and they're really good at red. So they'll bring it, and they'll probably make. Some of them will probably make top 8
Yeah.
with red. But I think that if you're not super skilled and familiar with red, I don't know. Maybe we'll look back on this and I'll eat my words, but I would just be careful going in because I think there's going to be lots of people who are very skilled with white control that are just going to like really, really give you problems. I also think that because we're going to see more, I think we're going to see more white. I think also Derm Dyna is a smart choice
Yep.
for your sideboards. I think that if you want to go into the white mirror match, you need to have Derm to, I mean, honestly, if you're playing white, you should probably play quite a few Derm Dyna and just in your main board to be able to deal with a whole host of problems that might be put in front of you that you need to get around. I hate saying that because similarly to the Elk, he's one of those cards that frustrates me.
Yeah. I love
But
Derm Dyna.
he's tough to deal with, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like he makes himself unblockable and a bunch of other stuff unblockable. And it's like, even if you have the Dream Bomb or the Thorn Prison or whatever, like you're still taking damage.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll really help you is the Ice Shield. So,
I think I ultimately have a losing record against Sturm Dyna. That card has beat me way more than I beat that card, and I
yeah.
hate that card.
It's still somehow
Hate
so sneaky. Like every time you're like, ah, yeah, there's Derm Dyna, and there's the amount of white nexuses you need. It's tough. I
Yeah,
like him as a
it's-
sideboard too against white. You know,
Yeah, some red
sometimes
decks have been playing him in the side.
yeah, sometimes your
So-
best your best friend is your worst enemy, or something
There
like
you
that. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I think going with
Yeah.
what you said too, Eric. Big card we're gonna see a lot this weekend is Thorn Prison.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you guys want to look at a card to potentially be putting four of in your decks, TP man, it's a really good card. You should try it out.
It's very, very good.
I want to talk about some spicy tech actually that
Sure.
was in the Cole main aggro deck.
Oh, yeah.
That has, if you're playing red, think about playing Power Boost because
Yes.
you can Camellia Whip. You can Power Boost a Camellia Whip, and now your opponent can't hit you with anything that has less than 10k BP.
That's crazy. Camellia Whip has
And-
just gone above and beyond Champer Chump. Like, it is
Yeah,
a very good card.
yeah, and I was playing some games once again against the Cole main aggro, and Brendan was piloting it last night, and it's like I swing in, thinking like, there's no burst set, nothing. I'm like, oh, I'm over 5k, so this is game. And then he's like, nope, Power Boost. I'm like, well, shit, literally none of my stuff can get through. So, like I can attack with this one big dude and do 1 damage, but that's not going to finish the game. And then you're just going to, next turn finish me off. So yeah, it's Power Boost Camellia Whip, just as good as an Ice Shield in some situations. A little more vulnerable because they can like Dream Bomb it or, Flood Stream it or whatever. But I never like to use the like dies to removal argument to say a card is like not viable, because I think sometimes it gets thrown around a bit too much, especially coming from like the Magic
Sure.
circles where people are like, oh, but that dies to this removal card, and it's like, well, make them have it. Like,
Exactly.
if they have the removal, then they have the removal. I mean, you're screwed either way if they just draw the God Hand every single turn, and
Right.
it's like, that doesn't matter at that point. But it could potentially be another Ice Shield for you, and out of red as well. So I think the reason I'm so excited about it is that since Absolute Ice Shield, this is the first like defensive tool I've seen a color have that's not white that can just end a combat step. Like white has a lot of tools like that, but like this is the first time I've seen something like that, I think, outside of white, other than like Thorn Prison, or just removal cards. But like just something that just like makes your opponent go, yeah.
And it feels way more clever, like it is like such a, again, those old cards, man, sometimes they're just going to be like, oh, I guess Camellia Whip set 3.
These are both new cards, actually, but I think it was just, it hadn't clicked for me until I saw somebody do it.
Yeah. And that is such a cool idea. And it's effective.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Speaking of the Pro Tour, we're currently sitting at, as of this recording, which is like Thursday evening, we're sitting at 56 players registered. So currently, if you show up in Portland, you get $500. So
yeah, how about that? That's pretty cool.
I don't think it's gonna stay that way, but
nah.
Could you imagine though?
That'd be nuts. Yeah, I was. Yeah, yep. A big long week of me trying to decide if I could make it worth it. And I couldn't quite make that math, but. If it does stay like that, hey, congrats to everybody who's going to Portland this weekend. You earned it.
You're getting paid to play a card game.
You're getting paid to play a card game, baby. That is the dream. But yeah, it's just, I highly encourage anybody who listens to this. I know that we, tout ourselves as Casualpetitive, and we've definitely been more competitive over the last few episodes. But if you're out there listening and you're more of a casual player with this, I highly encourage you to just go to an event like this anyway. My round 7 was against a guy named Ben who had been playing the game for about 4 days or something like that. But like, listened to the podcasts, watched some videos, like tested and played, and came out and had a really good time, and was playing a really fun Yellow Luster deck and had the Gundam. And it was just really, really neat. And so I had a really great time talking to Ben and playing that game. So just, it was so cool to see him have such a fun time at a high level event like that. being new to it, and it kind of loops back to our last episode about like it can be a really scary thing and a really intimidating thing. But if you can push past that, I really think you're gonna have a really, really good time. So
yeah. And don't worry about losing, because honestly, once it's like round 6 and you're at the bottom tables, that's kind of where the fun happens.
It's so
because it's like
I had a great time.
Everyone at the bottom tables is kind of just like, well, I'm not winning any money today, so let's just goof off.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, but also, I mean, if you can make the top tables, that's a lot of fun too, and a very interesting challenge. But I'm just saying, like, no matter how you do, you're going to play like 7 or 8 rounds of Battle Spirits and have a blast.
Absolutely. And play out your games. If you have a reason to drop, obviously, like, we were at Gen Con.
Your wife's giving birth.
Yeah. Like drop. But otherwise, like, play your games, play into round 7, even if you have a losing record. Like, it's just fun. And you brought a deck for a reason. Figure it out. Figure out what went wrong. And try not to dwell on what went wrong all the time, because you might get that matchup where you're like, oh, this deck just sang. And then you have to look at that data and be like, okay, why did it work so well? And there's just a lot of valuable information in winning. But there's, I think, even more in losing. So don't be afraid to lose, because it's only going to make you a better player. And the best way to become a better player is just play more games. So play your rounds out, meet some new people, laugh about the game and some of the crazy interactions that can happen. And that's just another good way to have a good time. And it doesn't always have to be high-level events. It could be something like Fan Run or something thrown together in Indianapolis, like... and you have any thoughts on that, Eric? Or Andrew, I'm sorry?
Yeah, so I will go ahead and give kind of a brief hint into it. You guys will get more of an update next week.
Yes.
But we are putting something together here in the Midwest region where it's going to be a tournament hosted by us, pretty much out of the Bulldog gaming community. And big shout out to Scott for being a part of this, and big shout out to Brennan and the rest of the guys for helping put this all together. But it's going to be a tournament we're looking to throw probably beginning of February of 2024. Finalizing some really cool stuff with it, some really cool prizing. Heard there's going to be some pretty good casters that are coming there to check it out, and we're gonna try to make it like the most like fun that we can for it not being an official Bandai event, right? So we want to do unique prizing and give everyone a chance to be able to travel in. And we chose Indianapolis for 2 reasons. Number one, because we're from here. Number two, it's just really easy for everyone to travel into, right? There's a lot of good things around. It's a really, I guess, kind of central location for the Midwest, right? So
it is the
I know
crossroads state.
February. Oh yeah, I know February is kind of like a dead time a little bit in the game, right? It'll be right after Worlds. Not a lot of grand opens have been announced. I don't think any have been announced for next year yet. But I know Set 4 doesn't even come out till March, so it'll be just kind of a good time for if anyone wants to come out and do something. It's going to be more of like a casual thrown together event where everyone gets together and has fun, but we want to have a competitive atmosphere to where everybody can come out and try to win some of these cool prizes. I won't give away too much of the secrets yet, because we do have Brennan coming on, and we do have some other people who are involved in this that I would like to get to share some of the other cool stuff, so I can't take all of it. But just a brief announcement of it. It's going to be start of February. We're looking right now, I think confirmed we're already up into like the mid-20s of people who want to come play in it. And some high-level players have already announced that they want to make the trip down to come play in it as well.
That's
So,
awesome.
I know you guys are wanting to get a part of it too, so I'll let you guys kind of share what you want to share about your guys' involvement in it as well. So,
Sure.
the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's y'all's event for sure, but when you
Yeah.
were telling us about it and talking to us about ways we could partner together, we got really excited about, obviously we have our absolute BSS tokens that I've made. And so, Cam, if you want to show on the screen, everybody, some new stuff we're brewing up. I actually can't see what we're looking at, but I
So
assume...
right now, this is the Golem token.
Okay, yeah. So if you're a fan of the Monster Rancher series, you may recognize who this guy is based off of, unless you're the unless you've never played Monster Rancher, in which case don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's a golem. But I tried to have my own spin on it, so it wasn't like a direct copy of that golem, but I wanted to be like heavily influenced because I love the Monster Rancher series and those games, and that's what I think of when I think of a golem.
Me too.
Was that dude? So I wanted it to be like, if you're a fan of Monster Rancher,
Oh.
he kind of looks like that. Wow, you put on a cloak of invisibility.
I did. I was trying to show this. It's a Monster Rancher card that says "Make Friends" and it has the golem on it. There he is.
Oh yeah, there he is. There he is.
Barely.
But so we do have a golem token hand drawn by me, and we also have a new set of cards coming out that are going to be core cards. So
Boom.
we've got. Oh, I can see the red on your face.
Yeah.
These are, we're going to have soul cores and regular cores, and so some of them are going to be shiny, so you can get a chance to get some foil cards. So these are all branded with the tournament branding, and this is going to be the only place that you'll be able to get these Absolute BSS cards exclusively. I will be making versions of the Golem and Core Card tokens to give out at events, and maybe host some online events in our own Discord to give some of those away as prizing. I ordered some foil versions of all of our different tokens to give away later. But for this tournament in Indianapolis or in Indiana, it's going to be the only place that you'll ever be able to get these really exclusive ones with the tournament branding on them. So if you're really into Battle Spirits and you're really into Absolute BSS, I think that you should try and make it out, because this is going to be the only time you'll be able to get these tokens. And yeah, we're going to be casting. So we're going to be live casting the event on the day. I have no idea what that's going to look like. If things go horribly wrong, we may not be live streaming. We may just record videos and post them later. But the plan right now is to be live streaming the event and casting it live for everyone to enjoy. So definitely make it out if you can. But if you can't make it out, check out the stream. We'll be showing it live, and then maybe you can make it out next year if we do another one. So
I can't wait to put these in my Coliseum Golem deck.
Hell yeah.
So pack your flood streams, baby. But I'm gonna be playing with some Indiana BSS Golem tokens. I love it.
Well, and thank you, Andrew, and the rest of the crew in Indiana for asking us to join you to help make this happen for the prizing and the allowing me to just kind of like say we're gonna cast it, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Sure. We're glad to have you guys aboard too.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I love this game, and again, it's been really cool to meet Andrew and the rest of the crew. So we'll have a ton of more details about it. So stay tuned here on Absolute BSS to hear it all first. But yeah, it's going to be a good time. So that'll be really cool. It'll be a cool way to send off the set 3 meta too. You know, one last like hurrah before set 4 comes out. You can play whatever you want to, like the Coliseum Golem deck. Like, what if he did? I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll share more details in each episode, and leading up to it, we'll probably talk about it in every episode. So don't worry, we won't let you forget.
Yeah.
And as far as right now, just the details you need to know: February, Bulldog Gaming in Indiana, get some Absolute BSS exclusive cards, and check out the live stream when we're casting it. That'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that a lot.
More details to come.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's about it for us on today's episode. We'll be back next week with our Portland recap, and I'm really, really excited to be rooting on my team from Tennessee. But
yeah, you gonna watch the live stream while we're playing?
Oh yeah. I'll be popping in and out all day.
I hope
sure.
I hope one of us make it on the featured stream. I feel like
me
that'd
too.
Be cool.
That'd be great.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really, really cool. So good luck to my guys and to everybody who will be competing in Portland this weekend. Safe travels to you. And yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning in. If you want to reach out to us, absolutebsspod@gmail.com, absolutebsspod everywhere. You can listen to us wherever you want to. You can like and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave a comment on the YouTube videos. I love seeing that. So thanks for interacting with us. Thanks for listening to our dumb little show. And big thanks again to Andrew for being on once again.
Yeah, and thank you everyone in Atlanta. I had a couple of people come up to me and said that they really enjoyed the podcast last week, and I was insanely nervous. So I'm glad the first week actually went well, and I'm a little bit more confident going into this week. So hopefully, as more happen, I'll be able to get a little bit better at this. So still working on getting a mic, guys. Bear with me, but
Nah,
we're getting there.
You're killing it, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your insight into the game. That's what's fun about this too, is just talking to people who play it so much, like at events like that. You just learn a lot. It's just really, really neat to hear everybody's different perspective on these cards and how to run them. So, anything else, Eric, before we get out of here?
Definitely like comment on the YouTube videos. I try to go through and reply to each of those, as I think you do as well, Cam. So it's always fun to talk to people there. And yeah, let us know if you're enjoying the format of the show, or if there's anything you'd like to see us do more, or if you want to tell us to do less of something. We might not listen to you, but we'll at least accept the feedback.
Fire that Cameron guy. Get him out of there.
He keeps burping.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I met
Keyforge player. That's it.
I forget his Discord name, but I met Kyle, and like the first thing he said to me, he was like, "Man, I thought you'd be taller," and I was like, "Fuck, man." And he was like, obviously doing a bit because I talked about that. No, I think he was like, "Man, I just figured you'd be taller. You're a lot shorter than I thought you'd be." Because I always say that people like assume that I'm smaller than I am, but I'm a big dude. So it was really funny.
He wasn't impressed.
He was not impressed. No, I still need to talk to him about Keyforge too. We got interrupted, but yeah. To echo Andrew's sentiment, shout out to everybody in Atlanta who came up to us and said very kind things about our little show here.
Imagine if they came up to us and said like horribly mean things.
Yeah, if they're like, "Hey, I gotta give you one note, quit." One note, and I'm out of here.
Just go up,
Cancel
come up to you. They're like, "Hey, you're that guy from the show, right?" Yeah, I hate that show.
I fucking hate you.
Every
You're not
time
funny.
Every time I see your face show up on my YouTube feed, I cry a little bit because I have to look at it.
We also had a lot of people come up and be like, "Oh, Battle Shots, what is it happening?" So like, shout out to Skylight.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna happen soon. And then I cooked up a fever dream of a video that Eric and I are gonna do.
Oh yeah, are we really gonna?
Yes,
right,
we have to. Like when there's a lull, like for content. Like once the tournament season slows down a little bit, I've got such a fun idea for how to play Battle Spirits. I think it'll be really goofy. So
talk about
there's
a
little
teaser.
tease for you there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, that's it. We're gonna get out of here now. Thank you for tuning in to Absolute BSS. We'll catch you next time. Good luck in Portland, everybody. Bye bye.
See ya.
Peace.